In this guide rail, we're going down by the docks, because that is the place to be. The Bristol Harbour Railway is far from your typical heritage railway, hauling coaches between stations. It runs along a quayside cluttered with historical exhibits, working in tandem as they were built to, showcasing life on the floating docks in an age where everything was powered by steam. Steam locomotives shunting trucks for steam-powered cranes, to load into steam-powered boats, to be guided by steam-powered tugs under steam-powered bridges. I bet even the kettles were steam-powered back then. Isambard Kingdom Brunel dreamt of extending his Great Western Railway from London all the way to America, and Bristol's port was where the trains met the ships that would sail onwards across the Atlantic. Bristol already had well-established docks by the time the Bristol and Exeter Railway collaborated with the GWR to build a line from the huge Templemead station under the town and straight to the waiting ships on the river. Opened in March 1872, it was expensive to build but succeeded in easing road traffic through the already crowded streets. By 1906, the lines were extended westwards and connected to the Portishead branch too, allowing for all types of goods from all directions to be loaded all across the quay. In an age before forklifts and shipping containers, you can imagine how cluttered this must have been. Indeed, it was a very hazardous place to work for railwaymen and men of the sea alike. There were several occasions where mooring ropes became taut too quickly and caught those standing nearby off guard, and those taking risks during shunting could be caught too. On at least one occasion, a lorry blocking the line got shoved into the river by a train. In its heyday, the Port Authority had over 20 of their own engines working the docks each day, not including incoming engines from the big railways. The route left the main line and was brave enough to tunnel under St Mary Redcliffe Church before crossing the Bathurst Basin Swingbridge into the dock. Not too related, but at ground level a tramway also passed the church. During the air raid on Good Friday 1941, a bomb sent a piece of tram rail flying through the air like a javelin. It landed across the churchyard with such force that it buried itself in the ground. In amusement, the people of Bristol stuck a sign next to it in memory of the damage caused that night, and it's still there this day, sticking up into the air as one of the last reminders of the tramway, which was shut for good because of the Blitz damage. The original route took trains up to Wapping Wharf, where today the Aardman Animation Studio and the SS Great Britain are. It was later extended along the south of Spike Island and up to the north to Cannons Marsh. Nowadays, both mainline connections are long gone, but trains still have the option of running either along the north or the south perimeter of the island. It has operated since 1978 as one of the working exhibits of Bristol Museum's M-Shed. Sticking to its industrial heritage, passengers travel in wagons and a towed brake van. They run straight under the four remaining Stothert and Pitt electric cranes of the 1950s, which are now Grade 2 listed survivors of over 40 that used to line the waterfront. Every time I see them, they just remind me of the fight scene from Tintin, but hey ho, it's history. Further along, the trains pass the banana-shaped Fairburn steam crane of 1878, which was designed to reach straight into the holds of waiting ships, and was worked tirelessly during the Second World War. The track ends just short of Brunel's SS Great Britain, which is such a miraculous survivor that it deserves a guide rail all to itself, as do the boats, which are also owned by M-Shed. There's tugboats John King of 1935 and Mayflower of 1861, which is now the oldest surviving tug in the world. They're joined by fire tug Pyronaut of 1934. But enough about the boats, because this one is all about the trains. The museum has 4 locos and a self-propelled crane. Whether you count that as a loco or not, that's up to you. The Ruston Diesel of 1959 was donated by British Gas to run maintenance trains and is now nicknamed the Bug. But not that the Bug, we did that already. For the steam engines, the museum wanted to preserve at least one example from each of the loco works scattered across Bristol, that being Avonside, Peckett and Fox and Walker. Number 242 from that company is the eldest, dating from 1874 to work at the Mountain Ash Colliery in Wales. It was donated by the National Coal Board in 1962, but is now in a very worn state, stored under cover away from the public and awaiting restoration. Inland Waterways and Docks Company number 34 Portbury represents the Avonside Company. It was built in 1917 as a batch of 9 locos ordered by the government to help with construction of new ports, spending the rest of its life shunting along the River Avon. In 1939, the Dock Company had 28 locos, but even then they were pushed way beyond their limits. Portbury was so worn out that it was known to sometimes run off on its own, so it had to be placed behind other engines in the shed to prevent it running away. Unions were so bad back then you couldn't escape the dock life. Portbury was preserved in 1964 and steamed again in 1988. Peckett number 1940 Henbury was built especially for the Port Authority in 1937. It was saved because it was given an almost new boiler in 1960 and overhauled 2 years later, making it ready and waiting for the years ahead. And it was needed too. Whilst the Harbour Railway closed in 1964, BR still used part of the line until 1983. 2 years earlier, the Port Authority's diesel shunter was in need of an overhaul, so for 3 weeks they asked if Henbury would haul the 450-ton coal trains for them instead. This made it the first privately owned steam engine to work commercial freight trains in preservation. Having just celebrated 150 years with its industrial past, the Bristol Harbour Railway does well as a rare package in preserving several elements of dockside life together. The railway operates on select weekends, and when not in use, the locos can be seen in M-Shed. The boats and 4 electric cranes are all in working order too, and there are often days where you get to operate the train and a crane for yourself. If you enjoyed this guide rail, check out the playlist for more of Britain's steam heritage, and subscribe so you don't miss next month's. You can also watch the vlog from the filming of this video. Huge thanks to my brilliant patrons: Alex Goodman, GBH Train, D0280 Falcon, Sean Tempest, Nat, Alco, Random Thomas Fan, Peter Davenport, and Ego.